In taking a look back at Newbridge, why not start at a main hub, the junction of Main Street, Edward Street with Charlotta Street. At Young's Corner, let's turn back the clock and the camera 30 years as we recross the street. This was the building working on for a big complex here as of '96, occupied mainly by pennies. Some of the old barrack walls here on the left, they're from the single-storey building that would have bound the street. The British Legion Hall, occupied by Aben since for business, and now on the site of New Credit Union. Here we see some of the big facades of the old barracks complex. These three-storey blocks surrounded the large open square, now mainly occupied by the GAA grounds. When the garrison pulled out of Newbridge, parts of the complex were used for training of newly established Garda force. Then, during World War II, many hundreds of turf-cutting workers were billeted here. The ornate granite stonework around these doors, the making of that and cutting of that gave a lot of employment around County Wicklow. The old verandas are about to be demolished and Pommorn takes a last nostalgic look. Pommorn, you're a long time in these quarters here, and I see they're about to be knocked down as we speak in 1996. Must be a, I know you're going to a better accommodation, but a touch of nostalgia for you all the same.
Indeed it is. I think for the last 53 years. I reared 8 children in here. And some grey old carriers have gone over to down through the years.
These gates at the Garvan Road boundary of the barracks complex still are intact in '96. They allowed the cavalry to bring their horses down to a special entrance to the River Liffey to drink. Uniform making for the garrison officers was an important local business run by the Ahern family here, Charlotta Street, established here in 1910. Recent renovations have revealed an old wall sign. The Evans family clockmakers were established in the Ahern block in 1876. Clockmaker for the War Department. While in Charlotte Street we meet Paddy Sheehan with an RIC plaque of a station there. Paddy Sheehan, you're a great man for history, local history and all that, and you have some great artefacts. You have this RIC badge from over the station. I think it's right to say of the several places where stations were, Charlotte Street was one of the places, is that right?
That's right, just beside Tom Malone, the butcher. And then it moved from there up to where Mr. O'Connell is living now, up in Henry Street.
Yes, over the years they moved around to various places, and well, you have kept it in great order there and great condition. It certainly is something of interest.
Yeah, this the plaque was taken from the O'Connells when the state took over.
Other artefacts, Paddy has this drawing by 1921 Republican prisoners. Here's your post, carrying in the post there. Also this uniform button from the garrison days, the 12th Lancers. Some jewellery also made in the workshops by prisoners. And this harp carved out of the hip bone of a beast. This is the residence of the commanding officer of the garrison. There for many years it was a Garda station then, and as it was filmed in 1968 by me, it's about to be demolished, while at the same time the construction of new Garda houses will take place. Although this is supposed to be a serious film, but I'm afraid the gremlins are taking over, or I should say a popular comedian, Mick O'Keefe. Wartime memories come flooding back to Garda Kirwan with this remains of an incendiary bomb which was dropped by a German plane on the Curragh. Well, Mick O'Keefe, well, you should stay on the stage when you get on the 3:30 stage leaving town today. Certainly putting things into reverse is not the way to get the job done. But let's look in at Television's first big outside broadcast, and another first it is, with the first Irish Sweeps Derby, 1962. The cream of Europe's horse racing is here. And as the horses get set at the starting line, the excitement mounts. They're off, and it wasn't long before it was evident that the French horse, Tambourine II, was to be the winner. Retired publican Jim Coffey, who was a publican all his life, and his father before him, and as of 95 is 77 years of age, remembers his old days in the Curragh. I knew of various experiences of, you know, people, punters in those days, in the old days.
I saw Steve Donoghue winning the Derby on the Curragh on a 12-to-1 shot. And the horse's name was Museum. He was trained by Johnny Rogers. I think Johnny Rogers had 2 or 3 runners, and this was only a spare mount for the great Steve Donoghue, world-renowned jockey. Steve Donoghue. He was an Irishman, but had ridden in England for all those years. And he got this spare mount, I think it was, from Johnny Rogers, and he won the Derby. And I was there that day. I saw Gordon Richards in later years. I saw Lester Piggott. The Curragh was, oh, we wouldn't miss the Curragh then. It's amazing how many times we miss it now, and we can go. But I ran to the Curragh, I was brought on bikes, we got to the Curragh any way we could.
Well, that's true. This photograph I have, it shows a lot of bicycles at the Curragh, and you would be aware that a lot of the transfer course was bicycles or horse-drawn vehicles, and even in your, you know, in your early days.
Oh, it was all bicycles.
This was, of course, before Jim's time of punting, but you can see the bicycle stacked there as there would also have been in Jim's time. The Curragh had big stars filming here 35 years before Braveheart. Here in 1960, Robert Mitchum is starring in A Terrible Beauty, later renamed Night Fighters, a romance set against Northern Ireland troubles of the 1940s. The old abattoir is altered to facade of an army barracks, and Mitchum and the unknown in his first bit part, Richard Harris, have been raiding the barracks. 9 years on from this, Mitchum will be back in Ireland playing the school teacher in Ryan's Daughter. Here the property man goes on the set with grenades and a gun, and easygoing Mitchum lumbers on. Mitchum is helping the wounded Harris in this sequence. And here we see a local filmmaker engaged at enormous expense. Richard Harris would go on to be probably as famous and doing as well as Mitchum, having bought out the rights of the stage show Camelot, and multi-millionaire by now. In 1961, a big step forward for Ireland, as 600 troops get a big send-off in O'Connell Street, Dublin, many from the Newbridge area headed for the Congo. It was in the term of the second contingent that 9 troops died so heroically. This is Newbridge Fire Brigade in action at a small shed fire. This fire engine is a rarity and a very valuable collector's item, as there are very few made. Fitzpatrick tries on brand new oxygen equipment just after being issued, and goes in to finish off the flames. Arthur Ives in the background there is the only link going back to the 1946 Fire Brigade in this photo, marching in a parade after their trailer modest unit. From left to right, Albert Cox Sr., Jack Brady, Arthur Ives and Albert Cox. Dinny Craddock, Dominic Doyle, Christy Finnegan, Danny Milan, Andy Cox, Matt Hennigan, Kim Rycroft. A big fundraiser for CARE was a long walk round Milltown and in by the Curragh. The walk was launched by popular TV star and sportsman Brendan O'Reilly. Keep a lookout here for some of the facades of the big old barracks which can be seen over some of the buildings. Paddy Sheehan doesn't miss fire here, getting plenty of shoe leather in for all the repairs that'll need to be done afterwards. Sonny Gent there marshalling the crowd. Here we have a train crash at the second bridge towards Dublin. It was a train of empty carriages, old rolling stock, being used in a test run. Unfortunately, there was no one injured except a slight injury to the train driver. But Irish Railways over the years have a very high safety record. Here we see John Kelly manning the signal box about this time, signal box which has soon disappeared to make way for computers. Some say the busiest day with trains on this railway was for the Eucharistic Congress in 1932. And here we see a Newbridge contingent waiting on a train for the Congress. Popular Station Master Bill O'Neill and Town Commissioner with Monsignor Miller. And here we have a group, all Town Commissioners except for two. Paddy Dunn, Joe Cairns, Tommy Cochran, Town Clerk, John Joe Murray, and Mrs. Annie Moore. Tommy Dunn, John Cassidy, Assistant County Manager, Paddy White, Michael Rigby-Jones, Managing Director, Irish Ropes, and Jim Dunn. 1967 is a red-letter day for Newbridge, having won their category in the Tidy Town competition, won their town category. Irish Ropes corner here. Down at the park here, bonfires blazing in celebration. Prize giving here, Joe Cairns there, Monsignor Miller and Mr. Harbord in the background. Tommy Cochran, Master of Ceremonies. Tony Swan there, Joe O'Doughlin, Sam Weller, leader reporter, Paddy Dunn, Paddy Murray and Mrs. Swan in the background. Monsignor Miller saying a few words. Some of the good ladies who helped a lot with the arrangements. Prize giving there to the various people who won the categories. Tom O'Rourke. Paddy Cox there winning a prize. John Watson. Paddy Doody. Mary Canty. Miss Rycroft. Mrs. Swan. Mr. O'Shea, Mr. Ford. Paddy Brady there. Mrs. McGee. Major Harbord here thanks the community in general for the great work they've done in the competition. Some examples here of how well the town looked and how each area was well kept. The crescent here. Mrs. Byrne of the Standhouse Road, who won several first prizes in the national level and some other placings. Trims Park Murrah. Cavanagh's Nace Road, very nice. Mrs. Dowling, St. Dominic's Park. Others of the small houses here are also well kept. Grogan's here of Riverside, always very good for roses, although not just looking its best when this shot was taken. Sloan's here in Charlotte Street, which is now a mall for prize for shop display. Here we have just a shot of a new hotel about to be built at Ballymanny. Big news for Newbridge. Paddy Prendergast's residence about to be built round and developed to become the Hotel Cadine. The annual drill display at the Holy Family Convent was really a big highlight every year, and always accompanied by the ever faithful Jim Dunny. And also big on the social agenda was the annual pantomime. In fact, this programme reads like a roll of honour. Jim Dunny, Monsignor Miller, and the very talented producer Andy Byrne, Kathleen Hall, Larry Bradley, Pauline Harrigan, Larry Hannon, Paddy Dempsey, Paddy O'Leary, Kathleen Tracy, Alan Ray, Kathleen Garrity. This Robinson Crusoe photo, we have Kevin Barry, Paddy O'Leary and Paddy Dempsey. And here, Kevin Barry, reminiscence on the great buzz of the pantomime times of the 60s. Seeing you there in the programme of the 60s panto there, Robinson Crusoe, nicely dolled up and newspapers and all that. And you also, of course, will soon be looking at the panto Red Riding Hood of 1964. You're involved in that too. It must be a great time for you being involved in these things.
Yes, well, the pantomime, the local pantomime in Newbridge was a fantastic event. It started in 1939. My first pantomime was 1952. But it was a big local event. There was very little entertainment. There was no televisions or anything else at the time. And people used to fight to get into the pantomimes, as it were. In 1964, I was playing the part of the stupid son, which people thought was typecasting, and along with Con Cummins as my mother and so on. And it was a great time, a great excitement. I mean, the rehearsals and everything used to take about 3 months leading up to the pantomime, and people used to come from all over the county and further afield to see Newbridge pantomime. It had a very good reputation. Before my time in the pantomime, in fact, the pantomime used to go on tour down to Carlow and Mount Mellick and Portlaoise and places like that. But it was so popular in Newbridge that in about 1950, I think, Jim Dunny, the then director of the pantomime, he decided that we would just have the show for a week in Newbridge and let the people come to see the show in Newbridge rather than go on tour with it. And it was a marvellous time, as I say. Everyone that was in it, we all had good fun and enjoyed ourselves, and very innocent time too. But it was great to be in the pantomime, be associated with it. And when the pantomime was over every year, you had this sort of down. You had nothing to do. Having been at rehearsals every week for 3 months, suddenly you had nothing to do, and it was a hell of a downer for a while.
Rita Hall there as the principal boy. These were the days before you could do much about sound, but hopefully what bit of sound there is may bring back some atmosphere to you. Con Cummins there as the Dame Widow Twankey makes a dramatic arrival. Kevin Barry here as Widow Twankey's son. Kevin is a good all-round man, and it takes a good actor to put over the foolish son in an amusing way, which he does very well. Con here at full gallop as he sings The Day We Went to Bangor. The inimitable Larry Hannon and Mick O'Keefe as Smash and Grab, getting all set for some hilarious mischief. The village square here, and with Rita Hall there is Principal Girl Rosaline Murray, Paddy Dempsey as the Baron, and Red Riding Hood Mary Brady. And in the background some of the fantastic scenery which Andy O'Byrne was very good at doing. Con Cummins here having a confrontation with Customs Officer Jack Scanlon, who also played the Wicked Wolf.
What do you think about the hair and shave?
This looks a bit like an airport baggage collection place gone wrong. And here we have Loretta Corcoran, Teresa Walsh, Barney Moore, Pam Kennedy and Angela Morn. The widow Twankey here giving Red Riding Hood some advice about going into the woods. The widow Twankey and son here in a moment of hilarious anguish. A hilarious scene here where they're baking a cake of bread. Excellent cuisine, but I forgot to wait for a piece of the bread afterwards. Larry Hannon here giving the foolish son some advice about approaching girls, God help us.
Good night, everybody.
The Beatles are here. Jack Hayes, Justin Brady, Kevin Barry and Donald Lunny on his first stage appearance. Director and top musician Jim Johnny there, and some attractive little dancers in the Fairy Glade. Kay Garrity on the right there, a second principal by, a discussion here about the various goings on. Smash and Grab and the Big Bad Wolf and the Baron here in a general schmozzle.
She's on our way to the woods now. I leave the rest to you.
An impressive musical scene here, and Sonny Gent makes an impressive figure there in the background. Jack Lavelle, of course, was always a man of many parts in the entertainment world, and these days were too early to project his rich, deep voice. Mary Brady made a very suitable Red Riding Hood and gave a very good performance all round. What great big teeth you have, Grandma. But the wolf, alias Jack Scanlon, didn't eat her up after all. Kathleen Tracy here giving a song, Secret Love, and she has been a great supporter of the pantomime for some years. And as always, the finale is really grand. Well, Marie Milan, you've played a big part in these pantomimes over the years, and It certainly was. The ladies in general had a big share of the work in them, from the point of view of, you know, the majority of ladies would be the dancers, and then you're in the chorus also, and then you had, of course, the parts of the casting. The casting itself would have a lot of ladies in it, and it was a great buzz, and you all played a great part.
Oh yes, yes we did. In the very early days, when I came into the pantomime as a child, the late Lottie Dunny would have been the choreographer. She herself had been on the chorus line of the pantomime, and believe it or not, the dance routines in those days were very, very good, even when you compare them to now. And we were rather lucky too in having a producer of the calibre of Jim Dunny, and then that wonderful artist himself who did all the scenery, Andy Byrne. In 1947, when I was Red Riding Hood, that was my first year in the pantomime, and Andy Byrne and the late Larry Hannon arrived in the following year. Babes in the Wood was in 1948, and really the scenery improved, and Lottie was still doing the dancing until Miss Gunn arrived on the scene. But through the years we've had some lovely ladies in the chorus, some lovely principal girls. It's been a wonderful experience for me and people like me.
Yes, you're renowned yourself as a great soloist, and perhaps you'd like to give us a ditty of some of
well,
that.
I suppose I could set the scene for you. The opening of the pantomime was, well, the pantomime script was very simple, and we were very lucky to have the late Larry Hannon, who could bolster the script and pad it and fill it out. But invariably the pantomime opened on the village green, and you had all the beautiful ladies dancing on the green, the chorus girls, and they would dance and sing to something like the following. The sun is a-shining to welcome the day, with a hey-ho, come to the fair. The folks are all singing so merry and gay, with a hey-ho, come to the fair. All the stalls in the green are as fine as can be, with trinkets and tokens so pretty to see. So it's come then, maidens and men, to the fair in the pride of the morning. So deck yourself out in your finest array, with a hey-ho, come to the fair. Maidens and men, come to the fair in the morning, with a hey-ho, come to the fair. And so enter the Baron, and there'd be right commotion then after that. That was invariably the opening chorus of the pantomime.
Well, that was great. Over the years, Newbridge, very much indebted to you for both your work and the quality of your voice, and thank you very much, Marie.
God bless you, and thank you.
And in the 60s, Christy Moore was beginning to make a great name for himself, here with Planksty and Donal Lunny. And in 1992, Christy is here with the President and with his family there, as special guests, performing at Families Day in Ardis Newbridge. And a big social event was the annual Irish Ropes dance at the Town Hall. a good night was had by all, and music, of course, was supplied by Jack Ruan and his band. And the annual Irish Ropes Sports Day, and it was a great social event as well as a sporting occasion at Royston. Mick Dooley there winning in style. Jim Dunn there, Master of Ceremonies. And an Arramore pipe band added to the great occasion. Members of the Bradley family and Peg McGovern here. Con Bradley, founder of Bradley Printers. Many valuable prizes there on offer. Young Riley chap from Old Connell won the Donkey Derby here. Jack Lavelle of Irish Ropes reminisces about this and other events. Town, and in particular we've just seen there the Irish Rope Sport there. That was a great annual event, and you seem to get great cooperation all round.
Yes, indeed. In Newbridge, in those days, when it was before television, we had to make our own entertainment, and the social club was formed for that purpose. It started really as a football club, and then it progressed to become an all-activity club. And in the sports, everyone in the town practically turned out for Irish Rope Sports. And in the factory, everyone became a member of the social club. And that's how we funded the social club.
Very good. Yeah, well then you had the other events, of course. You had the ropes, tramps ball, and some of that was, you had an annual dance, which around the beginning of the 60s.
We ran events in the canteen every Sunday night, and the tickets were always sold before the event because we sold them within the members and the factory. And the tramps ball was an idea we had, that we would all dress up on a night and have a good evening's entertainment. And the film that was made, I think more people turned up to see the film afterwards than you would ever realise. It was really an event, that tramps ball. In the old canteen at that time, events were run each Sunday night. And also another big event was the inter-factory variety shows. We won the inter-factory variety shows, best producer, best actress, and all. We won that for 3 years running. And I believe it was after that that we ran this tramps ball. It was leading up to that really, but the events were so well patronised and the members were so much behind you that
you always felt very happy with events that you ran.
The Tramps Ball was a great annual event with the general community participating. Lay down your head, Tom Dooley, a real song at the time. And now the sign says, Tom Dooley must die. James Wickstead, who became big in film production in the States. Francis Harrigan and their hula hoop rage at the time. Conal Bradley, well, he's some mother's daughter. Sport is alive and well in Newbridge, and here we have the 1963 athletic team. Larry McCabe, Frank McCormick, Larry Keegan, Frank Dooley. Justin Brady, Connie McDermott, Oliver Noon, Andy Sherlock and Sean Riley. Liam Riley, Andy O'Neill and Johnny Cox. Mick Dooley, Frank Nolan, Christy McDermott, Steve McQueenie, Man McInerney, Johnny O'Connor and John Joe Moran. Jimmy McCabe, Tony Culleton and Larry McCormick. This Sarsfield minor team of the 60s had repeated successes, championships won at minor and Mick Dunn, Tommy Hanlon, Paul Dunn, Aidan Comerford and Ray Lokeman. Jim Sexton, Michael Keogh, Joe Dunn, Ken Geraghty, Johnny Cox, Vincent O'Hanlon and Caedon. Mick Dunn, Bernie Garrity, Mick Leahy, Sean Duggan. Des Garrett, Dermot Hanlon, Noah Loftus, Mick Salmon, Ray Sullivan, Phil Dwan. Pat Murphy, Billy Dempsey, John O'Neill and PJ Grady. Noel Heavey and John Dempsey. And this senior Moorfield team won the county championship 1962. Paddy Moore, Michael Behan, Jim Darling, Jimmy Cummins, Harry Fay, Paddy Doherty, Dave Stapleton, Dennis Craddock, Joe Farrell, Jay McDermott, T. McCarthy, Joe Morton, Frank White, R. Clinton, Jim Cummins, Paddy Anderson, Johnny Gibson, N. Goff, T. Breen, W. Quinn, and mascot C. Conley. And on the soccer scene, this 60s Rangers team got to the Sheeran final. From back there left Andy Sherlock, Michael Hall, Alfie Keogh, Monty Keogh, Mick Mills and Mick Sullivan, Tommy Whiteley, Ted Whiteley, Teddy Brazel, Jimmy Whiteley and Parker Hughes. And this Newbridge Town team won the 1969 Counties Cup against Goodberries of Clara. Mick Kiernan, Hugh Swift, Terry O'Brien, Noah Loftus, Paddy Sherlock, Kevin Craddock, Paddy Loftus, Tom Keogh, Phil Dwan, Tony Harrigan, Joe Coogan, Kevin Cahill, Jim Fagan, Michael O'Connor and Michael Collins, who was also boxing heavyweight champion for that year. Christy Meade, Peter White, Joe Barry and Joe Reardon, mascot Joe Dwan. And people were also getting on with their hobbies, like Commandant Tony Swan here looking after his bees. He reassures himself that the Queen is all right, and there she is lying along the timber there. She's noticeably bigger than the ordinary worker bees, going up the centre there now. And in 1966, big changes are taking place at the Dominican College, where the church has been knocked down to make room for a larger one. This church was close to the heart of many people, and as I watch in a sentimental moment, I think I can hear the voices of boys' choirs come echoing back from yesteryear.
I'm able to tell them the diameter, not the circumference now, the diameter of the college clock. And they say, how would you know that? And I tell them, well, I know because my neighbour, Patrick McKevitt, a tall young fella, 6 foot tall, before the clock was put in, the circle had been made, the 4 circles. It's a 4-sided clock, by the way. And Patrick McKevitt told me himself that he could stand in the clock and the top of his head touched the top of the circle. So that means the diameter of the college clock, and I'm prepared to bet on this,
That's amazing,
6
yeah.
foot. It's
Yeah,
6
one doesn't
foot.
realise that looking at it from the ground.
No, that's what cards people, they think of 3
yeah.
and 4 feet, but it's really 6.
Right, come back now. Ready? Right, you go in. Go ahead.
Here we see the college in the early 1900s, the church on the left, and to the right a building little more than what would be the size of a private house before the big facades, and a painting here of the previous church. The Liffey, of course, flows right by the college, and here we see in 1939-40 winter, completely frozen over here and boys skating on it. The 2 boys in the foreground on the left there, one is Revel and the right Murphy. Yeah.
And that was one thing, I have fear of certain things, but I never had any fear of water. I think it was due to being born and living there right on the banks of the Liffey. But I suppose the biggest thrill about the Liffey, and the most exciting, when it froze in 1939 or 1940.
I see, something of course that couldn't happen now with the floods from
well, it couldn't happen now because it's controlled by Pool of Fuca now, and the water's held in Pool of Fuca and it's let out anytime they want to let it out. So it can never freeze again.
Well, you must have had a prolonged severe frost and you were able to skate all over it.
It happened on a weekend. I will never forget it. You see, as you know, there's a smooth patch from the bridge to the college. There's a sharp just before the bridge, and then there's a sharp just after the college, after the weir. But that smooth patch became fully frozen. It was the biggest thrill. And I remember a few of us going down, we putting our feet out, and we were so afraid. But after a while, we were running around the Liffey the same as you would around the football ground. And on Sunday, we had a nice hockey match. Broken hurls and all kinds of botchines, and a square block of timber was the ball, I don't know what you call it. And I often saw less people at an official football match than there was down there on that Sunday. A good, bright, cold Sunday, and we had a wonderful game. And there's a sadness there because I remember I was captain of one team, and Tom Murphy, the late Tom Murphy, my school pal, was gone now. And we were captains. But I'll tell you one little I thought was amusing, because this man is still alive. Just as we had picked our 2 teams, and the crowd along the wall were saying, "Come on, get this game started and give us a look at it." And a bit of a thrill for them as well. And a little fellow with a high-pitched voice says, "Any chance of playing, lads?" And Tom said, "We've picked the 2 teams. I asked us, I let the poor devil play." He looked like a race now. We'd never seen him before anyway. So he had his bit of an old hurl or something, and Tom and I made switches on the team. You take him and I take him, and the little lad played. Well, he made an absolute show of us. He went through us as if he was playing ice hockey all his life. But we weren't a bit surprised to find out that his name was Paddy Fitzgerald, married Cat Fitz from the Barracks. Paddy Wells, sorry, married Cat Fitz from the Barracks. and he's still living with us, and I often remind him about it.
Jimmy Nolan, Mary Maher, Tommy Nolan, Ina Swift, Jim Coffey, Brady Coffey and Art Nolan. I'm glad you could be with us on this trip down memory lane as we end with Pam Moran's song Newbridge My Town, sung by Christy Moore.
There are places of splendour and beauty, and there are places of fame and renown, but for happiness, peace and contentment, there is none to match Newbridge, my town. And there it stands on the banks of the Liffey, that gently flows murmuring by. On its journey it carries this message: in Newbridge there's peace and there's joy, and when strangers they come amongst us, oh, from Newbridge it's seldom they stray. Sure, they're met with the Cape meal of Falchia, and they are more than happy to stay. And there are places of splendor and beauty, and there are places of fame and renown, but for happiness, peace and contentment, there is none to match Newbridge, my town. There is none to match Newbridge, my town.